Something about his manners. Hope I know now. He didn't walk up with that how you doing. When he came in, he said there's a lot of girls I can do it, but I can't with her. Doing forever in a minute. That's on my night.
Bitches, yeah. If you already subscribed, oh, welcome back, my baby. But if you have not yet subscribed, oh, you're part of the 60-something% that comes by, watches the video, and doesn't subscribe. Please subscribe. I would love for you to join a part of the family. And while you're down there subscribing, also turn your notifications on for all notifications to become a part of the Morgan Shay Notify gang. And today is a story time, baby. Yes, that is correct. Today's video, I had a couple comments on the video about the daycare that I worked at. Well, I have another story. I have so many story times from working at that daycare. But today, we're gonna tell probably one of the more crazier ones. There's one that like takes the cake. That's not today's video. But today's video is about the mother who left her child at the daycare for 48 hours plus. It was like a little over 48 hours. Okay, so this goes back to the daycare that I mentioned in that last video. Now there's a few things that I need to mention off of the rip that is gonna be important for this story. Number one, this is the same time period as back then. Number two, the mother, okay, in this story, we're gonna be calling her Helen. Her two children are gonna be Rodeo and Tennessee. Number three, Helen didn't really have any family. And also the coordinator / owner of this daycare was friends with Helen's mother, who had passed away like 6 years beforehand. Also important to note is that Helen had no family. She had one great aunt that was still alive, which you will learn in the story, lived like 3.5, 4 hours away. All of this is super important. It's also important to mention that at this daycare, after a certain amount of time, due to all the plants and warehouses that are around my small town that I live in, the daycare started doing early risers. Basically, you would have to let us know a day ahead of time. And if we were going to have kids in the early risers class, we would have to be there. But if not, we wouldn't. And reminder, we would have to be there an hour ahead of time. All of that is going to be important for this story time. So Helen was a rough and rowdy bitch, okay? She had run-ins with several parents, several. Matter of fact, the police were called once because she got in a fist fight with a mother in the parking lot. Very loud mouth. I'm trying to paint you guys a picture. Very loud mouth, like a white trash bitch, just over the top. She's still the same to this day. At the time, she had 4 kids. They all went to the preschool, and at this preschool, in each class, you had certain things that the kids had to learn before they could pass on to the next class. So one of her children, Tennessee, was 3 years old. He had already been in my class. You have to know ABC in order to go to the 3-year-old class. You have to be able to count to 5, and you have to be able to be potty trained. Those are the things in order to get to the level 3 class. Now, with the handbook of this daycare and the way that we were taught to train these children, it was very rare, extremely rare for a child to not go to the next class. Matter of fact, it happened twice in the years that I worked there. But Tennessee had a really hard time. And it's important to note that the parents had to work with the kids too outside of the class. You know, we can't be with the child all day. So it's important that the things that we send you, the papers that we send you of different tips and tricks to work with your children, make sure you're taking them to the potty, you know, on a scheduled basis. It's important that you continue to do those things on throughout in order for the child to be able to graduate. Rodeo was 2 years old, and he wasn't looking good either. He was very just a 2-year-old. And while he was at school, he was a lot like Tennessee. He would do what he was supposed to do. He would go to the restroom when he was supposed to, so on and so forth. Now, the day before this, Helen tells me, look, I'm going to have to drop the kids off at 3:30 in the morning. This is also important to the story. Tennessee's father was involved. There's going to be more information to that. Just understand that. And that Tennessee is going to have his dad is going to come and pick him up at 2 o'clock. So he'll be leaving earlier than the program ends. Next day rolls around. I get up, go to work. 3:30 rolls around, nobody's there. 4:30 rolls around, I start getting kids, but Tennessee and Rodeo are not there. 6 rolls around, here comes Helen with Tennessee and Rodeo. So I'm already like pissed off. Long story short, guys, end of the day comes and Helen's nowhere to be found. Not only that, but remember Tennessee's daddy's supposed to come and pick him up. He didn't show up at 2 o'clock either. So here it is. By this point, it's 7 p.m. This daycare closed at 6. I've been at work since 2:30 in the freaking morning because you had to show up an hour ahead of time. I've been at work since 2:30 in the morning. It's 6. Where's she at? Don't know. All the kids are gone except for Tennessee and Rodeo and their brother and other sister, which was in other classes. Blowing up phones, and then I remember, oh yeah, Tennessee's dad, wonder if he has a phone number. Her emergency contact was her great aunt that I told you guys about. She wasn't answering the phone. Helen wasn't answering the phone. So I go to the lead and I'm like, hey, I've still got Tennessee and Rodeo here. Tennessee's dad was supposed to be here at 2 o'clock to pick him up. He never showed up. Do you have a phone number? So she gives me the phone number and she was like, yeah, but if he comes, only Tennessee can leave. I'm like, shoot, okay. Well, I call and he answers and he says, 2 o'clock, I don't get off till 8. And I said, well, our daycare closes at 6 o'clock, sir. We've done closed. Like, hello? I've been here since 2:30 in the morning for nothing, sir, because of your ex. Can you please come get your child? And he's like, okay, yeah, I can leave. I'll head there right now. Boom. He comes, he picks up Tennessee, they leave. It's crickets. Finally, we get a hold of the coordinator / owner, and she's like, okay, here's the thing. We're not going to do protocol because I've talked to her great aunt, and her great aunt cannot get here. She's unable to, but she's begged me to not call the police or DCS. I'm like, all right, you're the owner. You know what you're doing here. I was like, okay, so what do we do? I'm exhausted. What do we do here? She asked me and the other 2 daycare workers if we will take Rodeo and his brother and sister home. So that's what we did. And she said, I'll call you guys in the morning and let you guys know what I hear. And what was very weird to me, I didn't know at the time about the other kids. I ended up talking to my coworkers later, but Rodeo never asked, where's mama? Why didn't mama come get me? Why am I here with you? But later I would find out that the other kids didn't ask either. And her daughter was literally 9 years old. You know what I'm saying? So she was old enough to know that something was weird. You know what I'm saying? One of my nephews or nieces if that were to happen, they'd be like, hold up, what the fuck? Where's mama? Who are you? I found it very weird. Next morning comes around, we don't hear from the owner. So I end up calling her about 12 o'clock. I didn't feel safe anymore with this child. This wasn't my child. And after talking to my grandmother, I felt like if, she had me worried sick. She was like, if something happens, she could sue you, da-da-da-da-da. She was like, I'm calling DCS. And I'm like, oh my God, okay, we need to figure this out. I called the owner of the daycare and she was like, I'm calling DCS. She said, because at this point, Helen is not answering the phone. Her phone's now been shut off. She said, meet me at the daycare. We go to the daycare. About 2:30 rolls around, DCS is there. They took the children right then and there. It was very sad. And I get where the owner was coming from, but at the same time, I don't, because After knowing this girl and now knowing where and what's happened now in future, I wish she would have just called DCS to begin with. And the owner actually asked me to like lie to DCS. I did not. I told DCS the truth, that I'd had the child since the day before. I told her everything because I wanted what was best and the protection of those children. I know for a fact that Tennessee never went back. His dad ended up getting custody of him. It was a whole thing. And she literally called the owner of the daycare Sunday night and was like, hey, I'm coming to get my kids. And the owner was like, we don't have your kids. Your kids were put in DCS custody, all but Tennessee, because you didn't answer the phone. I never saw the kids again at the daycare. I wondered for a long time about rodeo. And a couple of years ago, his dad's name just popped in my head. I think about it all the time. I remember his name and I was like, shit. So I looked him up on Facebook, DM'd him, and he was like, oh my God, yes, I remember you. And the kids are all fine. They all went to really great homes eventually. Helen does not have the children. Tennessee is doing so good. He's so smart. He's such a handsome little guy. And so yeah, there's a little update for you guys. But yeah, that is a story about the time that she literally left her kids, 4 kids, abandoned at the daycare. Anyways, I don't want to cry over here. If you guys did enjoy this story time, take care of your babies. Do do the right thing. Always listen to your gut. Listen, whatever feels right to you, that's what you should do. If it feels wrong to do something, it's probably wrong. In this case, do what's best for the children. Okay? I love you all so much. Be sure that you do follow me on all my social medias. They are linked down below. If you ain't subscribed, subscribe. Join a part of the Morgan Shay gang. And yeah, you guys, until the next time around. Bye, y'all.